I love front kicks to the face. And over this past weekend, we saw Marlon Vera KO Frankie Edgar with a crazy front kick up to the jaw, very similar to the one that we saw Anderson Silva do in the past. So today I want to break down with fight footage from my bout why I think I'm going to change up my front kick style, make a few alterations, and hopefully have a more damaging kick like we see Silva and Marlon Vera execute. If you guys have been following me for a while, you know that I love lifting that knee up and firing that front kick through to the face. It's something that's been part of my attack since very early on in my amateur career. In fact, pretty much every fight in my early amateur career, I was landing this front kick to the face, mostly because people did not know how to deal with it. Now, as I've gone higher and higher up the professional ranks, people have become a little bit wiser. They either figure out just how to lift their arms up and block, or fade back, or just move their feet. I don't land it as frequently, but it's still something that I'm successful with to a certain extent. But after watching Marlon Vera this week, I think I can be more successful if I make some changes, some tweaks to this kick. And that's what I want to go into detail with you guys today. Because sometimes we just have to look at the techniques we're utilizing, go, you know what? They're not as good as they could be, and I need to make some alterations. So hopefully after this video, we'll have more people out there, more of my subscribers who compete in the future, landing front kick knockouts. So let's talk first about the style of front kick that I usually utilize when executing a front kick to the face, and why I utilize this. What was my thought process? Well, first of all, I like long range. I don't like coming too close. Not just in this punch range zone, I'm more from back here. When I see this nice adequate amount of space, I pump my knee as high as I possibly can, and then I execute the kick coming straight through the target, through the face. I also get a full pivot off on this foot, the standing leg. Now the reason I like to go through is if the guy leans back a little bit, I'm going to catch him. Whereas on the front kick, more snappy style upwards, I feel like if he leans back, it's just gonna miss. There's less likelihood of landing the front kick when it snaps up, so I've always gone straight through. But I have not landed a flat out knockout with this kick. I've broken people's noses. I feel bad about that. It's not something that's great, but I have. And I've had times where I've landed in probably 1 rounds with this kick, but I have not scored the big mean knockout. So let's talk about why. Well, first off, when I pump my knee up super high and I show you the bottom of my foot and I extend through, there's a good chance, if you have a high skill level, that you're gonna recognize there's a front kick coming. You might not be able to block it or do a catch or execute the perfect defense, but you're probably gonna see it coming. And we know that when you see a technique coming, it's that much harder to get knocked out. But when we see Silva and Vera execute their front kick, they are coming more here and just snapping up. Now this makes the kick much harder to see and understand just like that, because very simply the leg is only lifting up to about there. Which one's easier for you guys to see coming? Either here, boom, or just this little snap. So what we want to make sure that we're doing, and what I want to change in the future, is when the pad holder is holding for me, instead of going like this, which is what they'd always do in the past, and I would thrust straight through, I want my pad holder to start going like this, and just angling it downwards, more like an uppercut angle. And then I can really work pulling my toes back and jamming the ball of the foot upwards into the target. Now when I watched Vera execute this kick, there's a few things that I noticed which were very similar to Silva's, which might have helped them land the KO shot. First off, as I said, distance-wise, when I throw my kick, I'm fairly far away, so I can maximize that range and make sure that I'm safe, but they're not. When I want to snap upwards, I need to get closer. But this allows me to sort of stick my hand out and disguise the hip and the kick lifting up. So being within punch range is an asset in terms of distractions. So I'll need to take that step forward just to get a little bit tighter. Now from there, as we already said, maybe I'll let a hand go, because very often when I'm out here, I don't. I just go boom right through. But from out here, I can fire something out, distract, and then snap up. Now what else I want to focus on is what the lower body's doing. When I throw the front kick up to the head, I turn my hips. Boom, big turn of the hips. When you see these other guys throw, they're very rigid through their hips because they're already within range. If they go to pivot and turn these hips, they're going to end up jamming themselves. So I stay very stationary. It's almost an improper front kick to a certain extent, because if I was going to teach somebody how to throw a front kick, I would say pivot, let your hip take the lead that matches the leg that's kicking, and then rechamber, and then recenter. We don't throw like this, but it's working, so we might as well take little tips from these guys and see if we can add it into our own. Now the next thing that I always teach when I tell somebody to pivot is to drop your heel down to the ground before you make connection. I do not want to kick and be elevated through the ball of my foot, because if this guy is strong and stable, I'm going to end up knocking myself backwards. So I pivot and I flatten out. But when we see Vera throw his kick, he actually does no pivot and he elevates through the ball of the foot. So he kind of comes like so. And it's going to allow him to, as we already said, from this tighter range, land the shot. And maybe pumping up a little bit just helps his energy and his weight raise up, very similar to when we throw a round kick up to a body level and we're coming on that 45-degree angle. We want to disconnect our heel and get some more height out of it. So same thing here, when you guys are throwing that front kick to a pad that is no longer vertical, but sort of on a 45-degree angle, you can elevate and try and just get a little more power to snap up and through. I'm not saying get rid of the front kick where you lift and snap through altogether, but I am saying I'm definitely going to be adding this in to my training routine and hopefully landing it in the future, disguising it behind some hands. Once I tap, maybe I throw a hook. I think a hook would be a nice one. Tap down the middle, come around to the side, hoping that they were blinded from my jab, and then they go, uh-oh, a hook. They open up their guard, and then from there, snapping up the middle with this somewhat improper front kick positioning in terms of proper technique. But hey, if it's working, we give it a shot, we try it out. And that's all from me today. I hope you guys found this episode helpful. If you did, please give the video a like. If you haven't already, join the channel and get subscribed. As always, guys, train hard. See you back here soon for another video.
Here we are taking a look at action. Again, beautiful front kick.